size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man.
Hello everyone, thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of our favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose, I love comic books, I love talking about them, I love sharing them with you. Follow me on social media, links are in the description below. I just like to post my art. No hot takes, no opinion, just my art. Post about once or twice a week, not that much. And then I've also included a link to the Marvel fan page slash database slash wiki page with which has a synopsis to the story. It also has characters and all that, kind of like the old Marvel Universe handbook. So we're going to be looking at Amazing Spider-Man number 43, The Rhino on a Rampage. So this is from 1966 by John Romita, who had taken over for Steve Ditko. I have different versions of this story. This is the first full appearance of Mary Jane. I've already covered the previous issue, which was her official first appearance, Amazing Spider-Man 42. She appears in the last panel. It's basically a cameo. This is her first full appearance. So, and we have in this page, it's kind of like a second cover. So, and then here, of course, we have the credits. But it was kind of cool in those days. They because sometimes covers would get torn off. They had like a second cover, which was the first page, and so it was meant to be like action and that kind of stuff. So what we have here is the Rhino, who was his tranquilizers are basically wearing off, and he's trying to escape from the jail. And he has his little vendetta against Spider-Man. So then we're at the Bugle, and then this is Ned Leeds and Betty Brant. Betty used to date Peter Parker. Check that out in the Marvel database. Ned Leeds is who was revealed to be the Hobgoblins many years later, but then it was retconned that it was Roger Stern's original person that he intended to be the Hobgoblin, so it's a whole mess, but that's all right. So here Betty is showing her wedding or her engagement ring. So of course, as they're announcing the happy news, here comes Jonah saying, "Hey, the Rhino's around. What are you guys standing around for? I want the story. And where's Parker?" Foswell, of course, tells him he's got other photographers, and I like this. None are as good as that lazy lowlife. I don't know how he always gets the best pics, but he does. And so they all go scurrying about, and I love this. This is a newspaper, not a lover's lane. So we go to Peter, who is meeting Mary Jane for the first time. This is Mary Jane's aunt, and of course there's Aunt May, who has been Aunt May is the only character in comics that actually got better looking. She didn't look like, for years and years and years, everybody made her like this ancient little old lady. And although she is still aged, they have, of course, not made her look like a grandmother anymore. So she's looking good nowadays. So, and of course, we have Peter here, who's actually stricken by Mary Jane on how pretty she is. Of course, he's like, he can't believe he didn't actually want to see her. So, and of course, the two ladies are like, "See, we set them up." So Peter asks about her, and she says she takes drama lessons, and he says, "How come I've never seen you before?" She says, "You look like the shy type." So asks if he planned to be an actress, and she says, "I am an actress. It's just a matter of time till the world discovers her." and there's um like a band playing on the TV, and she's like, "Hey, they're playing our songs," but then it's interrupted by the um news, like a news clip on the Rhino on the loose. Mary Jane, of course, is annoyed that they interrupted. She says, "I thought maybe they'd at least wait till the end of the song." And so Peter is trying to think of how to get away so that he can turn into Spider-Man. She's like, "Hey, I'd love to go see the Rhino," and just mentions it. So he's like, "Oh, okay." So he says that he's gonna take Mary Jane for a spin. Um, and so um, off they go. So he's got his little scooter here. She tells him he's on the east side, and here's Matt Murdock, Daredevil. Foggy had been helping the Rhino who made the escape, so now it's um, he's just so much work. So I love Foggy here. I hate felonies. Give me a juicy tax case anytime. So here comes the Rhino, of course, causing a ruckus. Look how much has happened. It's only page 4. This is why some of these videos take a long time, particularly when uh, each issue is so many panels, so much stuff, so much dialogue. So, so we have kind of a flashback on how he became the the Rhino. So you can see here, he was just muscle and low intelligence, and some scientists were looking for professional spies that applied a special rhinoceros suit that is bonded to their skin. And so he's like, oh, whatever, as long as I get paid. So, so they put it in, and so it says he also has the strength of a rhinoceros, and it'll protect you tougher than a rhino's own skin, and he may be the strongest man thanks to them. So perhaps he needs to obey their command. He'll be the uh, perfect assassin, brainless, obedient. And of course, he's like, well, if I'm stronger, then I'm too strong to take orders from anyone. He's true. So I really do enjoy brush brush strokes. So off he goes, and he's gonna use his power to make himself rich. So and so here's Peter and Mary Jane leaves the scooter parked. So he says to stay there. He wants to take some photos for the Daily Bugle. So as he takes the opportunity then to change into Spider-Man. Before we turn, I just it's so cool. It's so simple. These drawings back then, I don't know. It's kind of cool. So he sees him there, takes out his camera, gets it ready, puts it on the web so it aims at him, and there he is. Rhino's like, I knew you'd come. And so I absolutely believe that comic books needs to be a mix of not just stories but action. And these older stories really do give modern comic books a blueprint on how to make successful comic books. Nowadays, it seems with modern storytelling, everybody wants to do a Dark Knight Returns, some kind of anti hero or some kind of deconstruction, and just tell good stories. And, look at how compact these stories are. Look at how much dialogue is in there. It's just do, like I said, the blueprint is in there. You don't have to do these exact type of stories. You can mix it up with the stories you want to tell, but just have action. It can't just be talking heads. I don't want to just read those. I do love to see superheroes battle too, and you know, you've got Spider-Man, you've got these villains. Um, I love that. Isn't he the dreamiest? Mary Jane says. So I don't know. I just think that modern storytelling could learn a few things from the old ways of doing things, particularly Marvel in the '60s. Um, Again, just look how condensed these stories are. So you can do a lot in 22 pages. But now everything nowadays is splash page and images and I don't know. So, and I'm not just an old man because I do think the art has improved nowadays. The art is amazing. The stuff people can draw. So here the rhino is escaping. He's um thinks he has gotten rid of Spider-Man. So he's feeling a little wobbly here. So off he goes. Um, it's just one of those things where learn, you know, uh, it's got to be, you know, everything can't be a six issue run. You know, we need to learn how to be a little bit more, um, you know, especially with comic books being $5 a pop nowadays. Um, so he grabs his camera here. Very close call, but um, so he wants to get back to Mary Jane, but found a small piece of the rhino's skin stuck in a stone. So he takes that with him. But like I said, the storytelling here, I mean, it is so compact. When you read these older issues, and I suggest, you know, the Epic Collection is great. There's the old Treasury edition or the old oh Marvel. Oh, forgot what they're called, but there's a lot of places where you can get these old stories for not that expensive. You can even look at the old Marvel tales, and the old Marvel tales, even though they're probably 20, $30, it's still cheaper than buying the original of this because it's got the first full appearance. So anyway, Peter drops off Mary Jane at her aunt's house, and so Foggy's writing his stories. Um, I like this. Even without photos, it'll be a great yarn. And Peter's like, "Who says anything about no photos?" And he's like, "Oh my God, you hit the jackpot." Um, Jonah just, uh, and Peter is quite happy. He's like, "Oh great, I can use the money." And Jonah's like, "Money? What money?" And so Jonah, uh, so um, it's just funny the relationship. So um, so Jonah's checking up on his son John Jameson. So and I have covered what's been happening. So feel free to check these out. I've actually covered the issues that featured John Jameson. So Peter thinks that the Colonel may still be in trouble and that the Rhino will go after him. So he's thinking about changing back into Spider-Man and going to pay him a visit. So he goes to see Kurt Connors, who is the Lizard. It even tells you here that he's the Lizard. So essentially, what he's doing is he's bringing the piece of skin that he found for analysis. Um, so, and then he makes a phone call here. So he's calling Aunt May. He doesn't want her to worry about. So he tells her he's studying at a friend's house and he'll see her in the morning. So of course we all know Peter likes science. He is Connors makes a mention of it. Uh, Spider-Man tells him that science is his first love after all. He's thinking that perhaps he should turn into the lizard to defeat the Rhino, but of course Spider-Man tells him that it's not worth the risk. So eventually they do crack up the case. He says this is what he was after, and he tells him it's untested. He has to experiment with it first, but he says there isn't time, and if he's too late, that a person may die. So he takes what he needs, and off he goes. So, and so now he's going to wait for and look at John Jameson and wait for the Rhino. So, and of course, the Rhino does show up here, and he's telling him he's no use to you. The spores have vanished. He's normal again. But of course, the Rhino's not gonna listen to it. So off he goes, Spider-Man, to try and protect the government agent here. And he crashes through the window, and the Rhino is surprised that he's still alive. So off they go for fighting one more time. And I love how half of it is action, yet there's still story, even in the action, and that's the thing that I think comics could learn. They should go back to creating thought balloons and just making it so much accessible to readers. I don't know if any of you have been reading the recently the X-Men, but it's a mess. I don't know. I'm a bit of an old guy, so maybe I have that thing. Anyway, Spider-Man throws or uses his thing, and it starts to kind of melt the costume off. So everything's kind of melting off, and Spider-Man goes for a final punch. And Rhino was like, "You wouldn't hit me," but of course he does. So here comes Jonah looking for his son. So, and uh, he salutes James Jameson, so it's like their little secret. So off goes Peter. Um, and here are Peter's um, friends, you could say. There's Flash Thompson, Gwen Stacy, who is being done as a blonde, but then eventually they just go with the white hair. Of course, Norman Osborn, or not Norman. No, it is Norman. Yeah, Norman Jr. So, no, Harry Osborn. Jeez. Norman, of course, being the dad, the Green Goblin. So here, draft. Flash Thompson has been drafted to the war, so he has to get a physical. And they asked if Peter got his notice, and he says no, not yet. Of course, Flash says, "Can you picture Puny Parker in the army?" So, um, anyway, they talk a little bit. So they, of course, Flash and Peter weren't always friends, and they kind of just give each other crap. So Peter arrives at home. She, of course, isn't feeling well and didn't want to worry him, and so he's gonna go get her medicine. But of course, the bottle is empty. She never refilled her uh, prescription, and it's because she didn't have money, which of course is still a problem nowadays. So that's the thing. Peter Parker was so relatable. People knew that it's just people can relate um, with that. Um, it's always so easy to make Batman the rich guy because the rich guy can afford these things, but to make a character so relatable it really was fresh. It just was something that's not done. But Peter, of course, feels guilty because he was trying to get his own apartment, buying the new cycle, reaching out while while Aunt May is going through some stuff. So she calls Mary Jane and says something's come up, and she says that's okay. I'll keep a stiff lip till you buzz me again. And he says, man, it sounds like she couldn't care less, but you know he is feeling bad because he can do all these things as Spider-Man, but he's got trouble managing his own life. And we're not going to cover the next issue, but of course, the lizard. So if you are inclined to look, like I said, I have a link to the Marvel database with this particular story, so you can look at what's going on. And every issue is available to kind of look through if you'd like. And it's got plot synopsis and character and who's there and when it. Oh, so much stuff. So anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe, and thanks for listening.